Like, oh wow, so you just gonna leave me? Cool, I'm gonna just lock all these doors.
Yeah.
Don't even come back in the house then. Not a problem.
Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jay and I'm with
Ashley Ray.
the one and only Ashley Ray.
Hello.
Right. Again, today's topic, we're going to talk about how to effectively communicate in a relationship. We know that that's probably a hurdle for a lot of people out there. It was a hurdle for us that we have to overcome. I don't think we overcame it until probably our, fifth year?
This year.
You would say this year?
I would say we mastered it this year.
Well, I mean, when do we tackle it though?
I think we just really started focusing on it. Probably, in a year.
But we knew it was a problem.
Yeah, I would say year 4.
Like we knew it was a problem. Yeah, year 4.
Yeah. And
then we made the steps to correct it.
And one of the biggest things that helped us was knowing who won.
Who won?
Gucci or Jeezy?
Shut up. So before we go any further into this video, you already know the deal, you know the routine. Go ahead and like, comment, and if you want to put a smile on our face, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Absolutely,
right
absolutely.
All right, so that was a pretty interesting few years of not knowing how to communicate in our relationship.
Yes.
What would you say was the hardest part when we couldn't communicate well?
Well, I think first it was us realizing that we really didn't know each other as well as we thought we had, 3 years into our relationship, because we read I think we did the 5 love languages test initially.
That was year 3.
Yeah, that was year 3. And through the test, that was our realization that oh, we actually don't know each other as well as we thought, because I was giving Jason the love that I wanted to receive, and Jason was giving me the love that he wanted to receive. So that was really eye-opening, because you think after 3 years, I know my partner, we've been together for forever, but that just wasn't the case for us. And I think just living together and trying to figure out how to make you feel loved and vice versa, it just was, we had some struggles.
Yeah. Her main love language is words of affirmation. My main love language was acts of service. So she would tell me how smart I am, how I look good, how I smell good, how my muscles is bulging, all the
chest looking all good and stuff.
All the above. But that really didn't affect me, because that wasn't my love language. And on the flip side, I would run errands for her. I would see that, her toothpaste is low. I would go buy her toothpaste, some body wash. Oh, my baby needs a hoodie. I'll go buy her a hoodie. She needs some shoes. I go buy her some gym shoes. I would notice things that she would need that she necessarily wouldn't do. And that was my way of showing love, but it didn't hit her that way until we decided to read the 5 love languages.
Which is a total game changer.
It is. So
game changer.
We're gonna start the video off right there. If you haven't read the 5 love languages, and like I said, we said it before, you have to read the 5 love languages. If you guys are especially if you guys are in the beginning of a relationship, or even if you're veterans at this, I still recommend that you read that book and also do the quiz.
And the best way that we did it was actually Jason's idea, because initially I was like, we should read the book at separate times, come together, and then there's questions at the end of each chapter. And Jason had a really good idea of, why don't we just read the book together? I read a chapter
and I'll read the other,
and he listens to me, and then vice versa. And then we talk about the questions afterwards, which actually was a really great idea.
Yeah.
Really great idea, because it worked for us.
That would be step 1 to learning how to effectively communicate in your relationship. Our other problem was that we had issues with each other that we really didn't know how to say without either pissing the other person off or hurting the other person's feelings, to the point to where it was kind of misconstrued. So we had to learn how to talk to each other when it was kind of like, you know, you made me feel this way, and in response to that would be something along the lines of, that wasn't my intentions, but I acknowledge that I made you feel this way. I apologize, but this was my intent right here. And then you guys just kind of go off from there.
Yeah. Well, you're not a natural communicator.
I don't think men generally, I don't think we're natural communicators at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a natural communicator. I'm a communicator, and I like to get things off my chest, like right then and there. And Jason is more like, especially if we have a disagreement, you like to process things.
Yeah.
So that was one thing we had to figure out. And I think the other thing we had to figure out is when we're in the midst of a disagreement, how we deal with each other if it starts to get heated and anything like that. So that definitely was like a hard lesson for us to learn.
So
because
I think I might have said this in a previous video, but this is for first-time viewers. I tend to, when we get into arguments, I tend to leave the whole.
Oh my gosh!
I tend to leave the crime scene altogether. Like, I'll walk out the house, I'll go somewhere else, and then I'll come back. You know, because my train of thought is this conversation is getting really heated right now. We're both hard-headed at the moment, and so we're not going anywhere when it comes to communication. So one of us needs to leave so we can have some time apart, let cooler heads prevail, and then once we come back, we can talk about it as adults instead of screaming at each other and whatnot. She took it as a way that I was avoiding her, shutting her out, her feelings, her thoughts, just kind of dismissing her feelings altogether. So every time that I would leave, she would get pissed off. But I'm in my head, I'm like, yo, I'm trying to save this relationship, so I have to leave. But she didn't know that because I didn't communicate that to her.
Yeah, and the petty side of me, because I'm a Gemini, I'm like, oh, wow, so you just gonna leave me? Cool, I'm gonna just lock all these doors.
Yeah.
Don't even come back in the house then, not a problem.
Yeah.
But I really felt abandoned in the moment, you know? And I felt like you didn't care, so you were walking away.
Yeah.
So that was really hard, because I remember my feelings were really hurt the first time you did that. Yeah, I think in relationships for sure it is, when you get in a disagreement, because everybody gets into disagreements, especially when you're in a relationship with each other, it's really important to talk about how you deal with conflict.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand how your partner deals with conflict versus how you deal with conflict. Like, it may not be the same.
Which, I don't mean to interrupt you, which is actually a really good point, because let's say you're talking to somebody, you guys been talking for like 3 months, whatever, and you're still trying to fill them out. One question that nobody ever asks is, how do you deal with conflicts?
Yeah.
Like, I've never asked that. I never thought to ask that. Nobody thinks to ask that because you never think to get into an argument. But one thing you would like to do, one thing you should do, I should say, is when you've gotten to past arguments with your exes, how did you handle the argument? Like, what do you do during a conflict?
Yeah.
Which is a great question.
Yeah. I mean, it's even in the workplace. It's like some of the things that we do in the workplace in terms of communication, dealing with conflict. Sometimes it's the same way you deal with conflict in your personal relationships.
Yeah. And
I think couples really need to, before we think like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with them, this is the one, Well, it's like, do you know how they deal with conflicts? Like, how do they act when they're really, really pissed off when something doesn't go their way? How do they act when because they might be great and then get pissed off and call you every name in the book, which is totally unacceptable. Yeah. Especially with you, like I want to talk about it like right then and there, because I got a lot of stuff to say. Yeah. And I want to talk about it right now. But now I understand what he needs and I understand that space. It's not a bad thing. It's more so we can come back together and talk in a more calm
and it actually, so I don't want people to think that, oh, they're doing what Jason wants to do. It works for us.
Yeah,
it works for us.
Well, now that I understand, it is smart. It's smart to, whatever. Anyways, it is smart to, take a little bit of time. But if you don't know that, then some people might feel like me and might feel abandoned. And the other thing that Jason, you did that just set me on fire, just cut me off. Like if I have a thought, you guys, Jason would be like, I'd be like mid-sentence and Jason would cut me off. And it totally made me feel invalidated. Like my feelings were invalidated.
We both were pretty bad on cutting each other off. But yeah, I admit, so one of my things with her at the beginning of our relationship, I would ask her like a question, and the question in my head, I'm like, would just pertain to one sentence, right? The answer would be one sentence. Then she would start from the beginning and then give me a whole paragraph.
I got a lot of stuff to say.
Give me a whole paragraph. And so in the midst of it, I would tend to cut her off and be like, I didn't ask you all that. Like, what is this? Like,
I'm so irritated. Oh, that one irritates me. Do you know what your triggers are? Period. When you really sit and think about that question, a lot of people are like, damn, I actually have never even thought about that before.
Self-awareness is
Self-awareness is major in a relationship, and for it to be successful, if you have one person that's self-aware and the other who's not, it's gonna be rough. Yeah, it's gonna be rough. But if you have two people who are self-aware, where you can actually take a step back and be like, you know what? These are my triggers. This is what I tend to mess up. And you can humble yourself enough to be like, babe, I'm really sorry. I know I tend to do X, Y, Z. Then you'll have a good relationship. Like you'll be able to work through things. But if one person's not self-aware and you don't even know your triggers enough to be able to communicate them, like I know my triggers. So I had to be able to communicate that to Jason and be like, when you do X, Y, Z, that really triggers me. Yeah. And when I get triggered, I'm not thinking clearly. Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, well, I'm about to leave right now. You acting crazy. And you gonna say something stupid. I'm gonna say something stupid.
Because me not thinking clearly, boy.
I'm gonna say something stupid. And it ain't gonna be pretty for the both of us. So.
Well, don't trigger me then.
First one was the 5 love languages. The second one was know your conflicts, like how you act during conflict.
And know how you act during conflicts.
And the third one, I would say you have to be 110% vulnerable. I can't even talk. Vulnerable and transparent.
Yeah.
100% vulnerable and transparent.
Yeah, and I hopefully two people are in a relationship. When you are giving constructive criticism or saying like, hey, when you did XYZ, it made me feel like XYZ. Hopefully one person isn't trying to put the other person down. It's really just simply communicating. It's not like, you did this and it was trash and you ain't nothing.
Delivery is
everything. And I think there were times when we maybe felt attacked.
Yeah.
But we had to take a step back and say, like, for one thing, neither one of us are trying to hurt the other person, like, point blank, period. But I have to be able to communicate how I feel if you do X, Y, Z, because if not, you'll never know.
I mean, for some of you,
it's everything.
For some of you who are in leadership roles at your job, you can't talk to everybody the same way.
That's very true.
Like you have to talk to this person a certain way, this person a certain way, this person a certain way. I think it incorporates as well into your relationship. You just can't talk to your partner a certain way. You have to learn how you can approach them without offending them. Even when they have to say something, when you call them out on some, some BS, you have to approach them a certain way. So once you learn that, I think that that will help out a lot. Once you get into a relationship, it's not just, oh, we're together, that's it.
Nah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like, we've been married for almost 1 year, but we've been together for 7 years. And we're still like figuring each other out. We're still, putting in work. It's routine maintenance, just like you would do on a car. Like you have to put things into place to make sure everything is running smoothly, Yeah. Which brings us to our last one. I'll let you lead this one because it was her idea, which was a great idea.
So when we got married, I really was trying to find new ways to improve our communication. And I had to have a form. I realized that I was telling you these things while you were busy, while you out of the blue. I'd be like, hey, can we talk for a second? And I realized it just wasn't fair because it was kind of blindsiding you with a random combo.
She likes to have serious conversations when I'm about to go to sleep.
It's so
I'll be like, all right, it's time to turn in. I gotta be up in the morning. I'm all snuggled up in my bed. Hey, babe.
Or when you was doing, here you were studying and stuff. I'd be like, babe. I'd sit on the couch. And I'd be like, are you gonna look at me?
I'm like.
So in order to.
Cook.
Right. So in order to improve the communication and I found online where they actually have marriage check-ins, and I found a template, and I told Jason about it. I don't really think he was with it initially. And he thought it was stupid.
And just to emphasize, it's a married checklist, but it doesn't have to be for
it's just for
it could be for anybody.
For anybody. Yeah. So the template is. First you talk about gratitude. Gratitude is the first one. So you guys talk about what you're thankful for, maybe something acknowledge what that person did for you the past week. The second one is any business that you need to take care of.
Oh, okay.
Within the relationship, what do we need to do to take care of the household, any bills we gotta pay, just any business that needs to be taken care of. Chores that need to be taken care of. The third thing you talk about is
couples goals.
No, fun times.
Oh yeah.
So you schedule a date. Schedule a date during that time for the upcoming week or whatever. Something that gets some specific time together on the calendar. And then the last thing you talk about is any conflicts that you guys have had or anything that you kind of want to get off your chest from something maybe that happened the week before.
You skip couples goals. Couple goals.
No, couples goals is something I did.
Well, you can add that in there.
I just did that for 2021. I kind of put that in business.
I think it's good to add that though.
So
we're gonna add a little bit to that. So the first one was gratitude. The second one is chores. What do you have to get done as a couple around
business.
the house?
Yeah.
Do you have to clean out the garage? Do you have to clean out the closet, etc.? Third one is schedule a date. Or a fun day. So something to where you guys can just concentrate on yourself, get a babysitter, get a dog sitter. You guys go out and have at least 2-3 hours where you can just focus and recharge on yourself. Fourth one is conflicts. Was there anything that I messed up on in the last 2 weeks that you didn't call me out on? And if so, let's talk about it now so we can resolve it. Now we're adding a fifth one.
Yes.
To where couples goals. Everybody has goals as they want to do with a couple. Ours is that we want to YouTube. YouTube is actually one of our couple goals. Is that we want to build this to the point where it can be monetized and we can get some funds coming in. go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Hello.
So we can get some funds coming in, so we can also do other things that we want to do. So one of our couple goals is to have at least 4 streams of income. At least,
yeah.
At least 4 streams of income. As in relationship, you should have weekly meetings. I mean, it's just smart to do.
I mean, and my thing is like, you're gonna do your best to communicate at work because you don't want to lose your job.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put more into your job and the people that you work with than you put into your relationship. If you know how to communicate at work, then you know how to communicate in your relationship. If your boss texts you, you text him back. People send you an email, you're gonna email them back. You don't want to lose your job. So it's like, you need to be putting even more effort into your relationship, doing the same kinds of things. So yeah, that's what's helped us. And I actually think even 7.5 years together, we're in our first year, we almost had a year of marriage. This is the best our relationships has ever been, because we have planted those seeds and done the work for years before this. So.
And you guys will be along for the ride to see us reap what we sowed. So
yeah, we're excited. And the other thing, we are going to be working on something really cool for 2020 together as a couple that I can't wait to share. The board.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna work on something really cool.
That will be our New Year's. That will be our New Year's Day thing. So
drop a video on New Year's Day.
Yeah, we're gonna drop a video on New Year's Day, and we would like for you guys to take part in this as well.
Yeah.
So
it'll be really exciting.
Yeah. So all right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and tell us about your past relationships, on how well you guys communicated or how bad you guys communicated. Like, where we would like to hear your guys' story.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and we're gonna talk to y'all later.
Till then.
Until then, shh.